The first thing Captain Elias Vance heard was laughter. Not human laughter. It came through the battlefield communications channel in a language his translator had learned only 3 days earlier. Yet the meaning was unmistakable. The alien patrol was laughing at him. "Is that your weapon?" the alien commander asked. "That ancient machine?" Elias remained perfectly still. He was lying beneath a broken slab of concrete on the edge of what had once been a military communications station. Dust drifted through the morning light. His face was pressed against the stock of a rifle older than some of the alien soldiers watching him. His breathing was slow. His heartbeat was slower. Behind him, the ruins of Outpost Meridian burned beneath a violet alien sky. 27 human soldiers were trapped inside. 3 were wounded. 2 communications officers were missing. And Elias was the only thing standing between them and the alien patrol. The alien commander stepped from behind a wrecked armored vehicle. He was enormous, almost 8 feet tall, covered in black segmented armor, with 4 pale eyes glowing beneath his helmet. His soldiers surrounded him. They carried weapons that looked like they belonged in another century of human science. Sleek energy rifles, hovering targeting drones, shields that shimmered like liquid glass. Then the commander pointed toward Elias. "Human," he said, "your civilization crossed the stars with machines like that?" Elias said nothing. The commander laughed again. "We brought weapons capable of cutting through mountains." He raised his energy rifle. "You brought a museum piece." Elias looked through his scope. The alien commander was standing exactly where he wanted him. But Elias did not fire. Not yet, because there was something the aliens didn't know. The rifle wasn't there to kill the commander. It was there to make him move. Elias slowly shifted his aim. 300 meters behind the commander stood an alien communications tower. It was tall, silver, and surrounded by a protective energy field. Elias had been watching it for 11 minutes. He had already memorized the patrol pattern. He knew which alien moved first, which one looked left, which drone scanned the ridge, which soldier always stopped to check his ammunition. And he knew something even more important. The alien shield did not protect everything. It protected living targets. It did not protect the tower's external power couplings. Elias whispered into his communicator. "Meridian actual to command." Only static answered. He tried again. "Meridian actual to command. Do you copy?" Nothing. Then a weak voice came through. "Vance." Elias recognized Lieutenant Sarah Cole. "Go ahead. We have 4 minutes." Elias looked toward the burning station. "What happens in 4 minutes?" The aliens breached the lower bunker. His jaw tightened. "How many?" 27. Elias closed his eyes for half a second. 27 people. 27 lives. Then the alien commander spoke again. "You have been silent for too long, human." Elias opened his eyes. The commander was looking directly at him. "Perhaps your weapon is broken." The alien soldiers laughed. Elias smiled. It was the first expression he had shown all morning. "No," he whispered. The commander tilted his head. "What?" Elias pulled the rifle tighter against his shoulder. "I was just waiting for you to stop talking." The commander raised his weapon. Elias fired. The sound was enormous. For one moment, the entire battlefield seemed to freeze. The ancient .50 BMG rifle thundered across the valley. The alien commander disappeared behind a cloud of dust. His soldiers stopped laughing. The hovering drones suddenly changed direction. Inside Outpost Meridian, 27 humans heard the shot. Sarah Cole looked toward the ceiling. "What was that?" One of the soldiers smiled. "Vance." Outside, Elias worked the rifle and looked through his scope. The alien commander was alive. His armor had absorbed the impact. But he was no longer laughing, because the shot had not been aimed at him. The projectile had struck the ground beside him, tearing apart the terrain and forcing his entire squad to scatter. Exactly as Elias predicted, the alien commander screamed in order. His soldiers moved, and that was the moment Elias needed. He shifted his aim toward the communications tower. One breath, one heartbeat, one trigger pull. The second shot struck the exposed power coupling. The alien shield flickered, then collapsed. Every alien device in the valley went dark. The patrol's weapons shut down. Their drones dropped from the sky. The communications tower went silent. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens couldn't talk to each other. Elias whispered, "Now." Inside the bunker, Sarah heard the command. The emergency doors opened. Human soldiers rushed through the smoke. The alien patrol turned toward them. But without their network, their perfect coordination was gone. Human soldiers opened fire. The valley erupted. Elias watched through his scope as the battle changed in seconds. The aliens had technology. Humans had experience. The aliens had shields. Humans had improvisation. And the aliens had made one fatal mistake. They believed old meant useless. They were about to learn otherwise. But Elias knew something even the humans didn't know. That first shot had been detected. Far above the battlefield, hidden beyond the clouds, an alien warship had been watching. Its sensors had recorded the rifle. Its computers had analyzed the projectile. And its commander had just received a message. Unknown human weapon identified. A pause followed. Then another message appeared. Threat level, insignificant. The alien commander smiled. Send the hunter. High above Earth, something enormous changed course. And Captain Elias Vance had no idea that the shot he had just fired would become the beginning of the greatest hunt in human history. By sunset, Outpost Meridian was gone. Not captured. Not abandoned. Gone. The alien fleet had erased it from the battlefield. Where the communication station once stood, there was now only a crater surrounded by burning metal. But 27 humans had survived. They had escaped through an underground maintenance tunnel less than 6 minutes before the orbital strike. Captain Elias Vance stood on a ridge overlooking the ruins. His rifle rested beside him. He wasn't celebrating. Something felt wrong. The aliens had retreated too easily. Sarah Cole approached from behind. "You should be dead." Elias glanced at her. "So should you." She looked at the rifle. "Still carrying that thing?" "Yes. You know Command wants you to leave it behind." Elias looked toward the horizon. "Command can want whatever it likes." Sarah sighed. "You're impossible." "I've been told." She sat beside him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then the sky changed. A thin blue line appeared between the clouds. Sarah looked up. "Do you see that?" Elias did. His expression hardened. The line became a circle. Then the circle became a massive shape descending through the atmosphere. It wasn't an ordinary alien ship. It was too small to be a warship, too fast to be a transport. It moved like something designed for one purpose: hunting. Elias immediately grabbed his rifle. "Get everyone underground." Sarah stood. "What is it?" "I don't know." The ship stopped above the valley. A single object dropped from its underside. It struck the ground without making a sound. Then the object opened. Something stepped out. It was taller than the alien commander from Meridian. Its armor was dark. Its body was almost impossible to see against the night. And unlike the other aliens, it carried no visible weapon. Sarah whispered, "Where's its rifle?" Elias looked through his scope. "It doesn't need one." The creature turned. Its head moved directly toward Elias. The distance was nearly 2 kilometers. There was no possible way it could see him, yet Elias felt as if they were staring directly at each other. Then the creature raised one hand. A human radio beside Sarah exploded. She fell backward. Elias pulled her behind cover. Down. Another radio exploded. Then another. The creature wasn't shooting. It was finding them. Elias understood immediately. "It tracked our transmissions." Sarah looked at him. "So what do we do?" Elias looked at his rifle. "We stopped transmitting. They destroyed every active communication device." Then the valley became silent. For nearly 10 minutes, nothing happened. The alien hunter simply stood there, waiting. Elias watched through the scope. The creature slowly turned toward the mountains. Then it began walking, not toward the base, toward Elias. His blood ran cold. "How does it know?" Sarah whispered. Elias didn't answer, because he had just realized something. The alien had not followed their radio. It had followed the rifle. The hunter stopped. It raised its hand. The air around Elias seemed to bend. A projectile struck the rock beside his head. He ducked. The rock exploded. Elias rolled down the slope. Sarah shouted his name. He grabbed the rifle and disappeared behind a ridge. The alien hunter continued walking. Elias looked at the weapon in his hands. For the first time in 20 years, he wondered if the rifle was actually obsolete. Then he remembered his grandfather, a man who had once told him, "Technology makes things easier. It doesn't make people better." Elias breathed deeply. He looked at the hunter again. The creature was approaching. Elias realized he couldn't defeat it by fighting the way the aliens expected. So he changed the game. He moved toward an old mining tunnel. The tunnel had been abandoned for decades. Inside, Elias found rusted equipment, collapsed supports, and a forgotten rail system. He smiled. "Perfect." Sarah caught up. "What are you doing?" "Setting a trap. For that thing. For the thing that thinks it's smarter than us." They moved deeper into the tunnel. The hunter entered moments later. It stopped. Its sensors scanned the darkness. Nothing. Elias waited. 5 seconds. 10. 20. The hunter moved forward. Elias watched from a hidden chamber. He had positioned himself behind a thick stone wall. He couldn't see the creature directly, but he knew where it was. He raised the rifle, then lowered it. No shot. Not yet. The hunter stopped. A strange mechanical sound echoed through the tunnel. It had found something. Elias smiled. "Got you." He fired, not at the hunter, but at the ancient mining machinery above it. The impact shook the tunnel. Dust and broken metal crashed downward. The hunter disappeared beneath the debris. Sarah stared. "You didn't shoot it." "No." "Why?" "Because I don't need to." The tunnel began collapsing. Elias grabbed Sarah. "Run." They escaped as the entrance disappeared behind them. For several minutes, they stood in the cold night air. Sarah looked back. "Is it dead?" Elias stared at the mountain. "No." "How do you know?" "Because if it were dead," he pointed toward the sky, "they wouldn't be sending another ship." A distant object appeared above the clouds. Then another. Then another. Sarah's face went pale. "How many?" Elias counted. "Too many." The human command network finally returned. A voice came through. "Captain Vance, this is General Hayes. We have a problem." Elias answered. "I know." "No, Captain. You don't." A pause. "Alien forces have changed their strategy." Elias looked upward. "What strategy?" "They aren't attacking our bases anymore." His eyes narrowed. "Then what are they attacking?" General Hayes answered quietly. "You." Elias looked at the rifle. The aliens had finally realized the truth. The ancient weapon was never the threat. The man holding it was. 3 days later, every major human command center received the same message. Captain Elias Vance is to be evacuated immediately. Elias refused. He was sitting inside an underground command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, military officers argued over maps. The aliens had stopped attacking cities. They had stopped targeting factories. They had stopped destroying communication centers. Instead, they were searching for one man, one soldier, one rifle. General Hayes stood across the table. "You've become a symbol." Elias looked tired. "I didn't ask to become one." "That doesn't matter." Hayes pointed toward a map. "Alien forces are spreading across 12 regions. They're looking for you." Elias studied the map. "They're making a mistake." "What mistake?" "They're concentrating." Hayes stared at him. Elias tapped several locations. "They aren't hunting me." "What?" "They're hunting where they think I'll go." Sarah Cole understood first. "You want them to think they know you." Elias nodded. "Exactly." He pointed to the center of the map. "Give them a target." Hayes shook his head. "You're proposing yourself as bait." "No." Elias looked toward the old rifle resting against the wall. "I'm proposing humanity as bait." The plan was simple. A fake human convoy would move through the Nevada desert. Every transmission would suggest that Elias was inside. Every satellite image would show the silhouette of the old sniper rifle. The aliens would believe they had finally found him. But the real Elias would be somewhere else, waiting. At midnight, the convoy moved. Alien ships appeared almost immediately, exactly as predicted. Sarah watched the operation from the command bunker. They took the bait. General Hayes nodded. "How long?" 6 minutes. Then the lights went out. Every screen turned black. Sarah stood. "What happened?" No answer. Then one screen returned. An alien message appeared. You are not as clever as you believe, humans. Sarah froze. A second message appeared. We know where your sniper is. The screen changed. A live image appeared. Elias Vance stood alone in the desert. Sarah whispered, "No." General Hayes stared. That isn't possible. But it was. The alien hunter had found him. Elias stood beside a ruined observatory nearly 400 kilometers away. The rifle rested on his shoulder. The hunter approached from the darkness. Behind it stood dozens of alien soldiers. A voice came through Elias's communicator. "Captain Vance." Elias smiled. "About time." The alien commander appeared on the screen. "You have caused unacceptable losses." Elias shrugged. "You invaded my planet. You continue using primitive weapons against superior technology." Elias looked at the rifle. "Primitive?" He smiled. "That's what the first one said." The alien commander stepped forward. "This ends tonight." Elias looked toward the sky. "No." The commander paused. "It ends now." Elias raised the rifle. But instead of aiming at the aliens, he aimed toward the distant horizon. The alien soldiers laughed. Then Elias fired. The shot traveled into the darkness. Nothing happened. The aliens looked confused. The commander laughed. "You missed." Elias lowered the rifle. "No." A second later, the horizon exploded. Not from the bullet, from a chain reaction. Human engineers had placed abandoned mining equipment beneath the desert. Elias's shot had triggered the first charge. The explosion triggered another. Then another. A massive underground tunnel collapsed beneath the alien fleet's landing zone. Ships fell. Ground units scattered. The hunter turned toward Elias. For the first time, it appeared afraid. Elias chambered another round. The hunter charged. Elias fired. The impact threw the creature backward. It rose again. Elias fired a second time. The creature's armor cracked. It still advanced. Sarah watched through the recovered camera feed. "Elias, move." He didn't. The hunter reached him. Elias dropped the rifle. The alien raised its hand. Then Elias pulled a small metal object from his vest. The hunter stopped. It recognized the device. A human emergency beacon. Elias smiled. "You followed the rifle." He pressed the button. "You should have followed the man." The beacon activated. Hundreds of human drones rose from the surrounding desert. Not weapons. Sensors. They flooded the area with light. The alien hunter's vision systems failed. Elias grabbed his rifle. The hunter swung blindly. Elias stepped aside. Then he fired one final shot. The creature fell. Silence returned. Across the desert, alien soldiers lowered their weapons. Their commander looked toward the fallen hunter. Then toward Elias. He finally understood. The old rifle had never been humanity's greatest weapon. It had been a message. Humans didn't need the newest technology to survive. They needed courage. They needed patience. And they needed someone willing to stand alone when everyone else believed the battle was already lost. 6 months later, the war ended. Not with a surrender. Not with a final planetary battle. It ended with a negotiation. The alien fleet withdrew from Earth. Their commanders had learned something they had never expected to learn from a species they considered primitive. Humans were unpredictable. They didn't always choose the most advanced solution. They chose the solution that worked. Captain Elias Vance became famous across Earth. Children knew his name. Soldiers painted his silhouette on their helmets. News networks called him the ancient sniper. Elias hated the nickname. He preferred something simpler. Soldier. One morning, he returned to the mountain where the first alien hunter had fallen. The war was over. The sky was blue. The valley was quiet. Sarah Cole stood beside him. "You know," she said, "you could retire." Elias looked at the rifle. "Maybe. You've been carrying that thing everywhere." "I know." "Why?" Elias looked across the mountains. "When I was young, my grandfather gave it to me." Sarah smiled. "What did he say?" Elias remembered. He said a weapon doesn't decide the outcome. "What does?" "The person holding it." Sarah looked at him. "And now?" Elias thought for a moment. Now I think he was only half right. She raised an eyebrow. Elias continued. "The person matters." He looked toward the distant horizon. but so does the reason they're fighting. A transport aircraft appeared overhead. It carried diplomats toward the new alien border. Humanity was preparing to meet the species that had once invaded Earth. The galaxy was changing, and Earth had changed with it. The aliens had arrived believing humans were primitive. They left knowing humans were dangerous. But the greatest surprise came several weeks later. An alien ambassador requested a private meeting with Elias. He arrived without soldiers, without weapons, without armor. He was smaller than the commanders Elias had fought. His voice was calm. "We wish to understand something." Elias sat across from him. "What?" "The rifle." Elias glanced at it. "What about it? Why did your species continue using such a weapon when better technology existed?" Elias smiled. "Because sometimes the oldest lessons are the hardest to replace." The ambassador studied him. "We possess weapons millions of years beyond yours." "I know. We can destroy mountains." "I know. We can cross galaxies." "I know." The ambassador leaned closer. "Then why did you defeat us?" Elias didn't answer immediately. He looked through the window. Outside, young human soldiers were training. Some carried advanced energy weapons. Others carried conventional firearms. Different generations, different technologies. One purpose. Finally, Elias said, "You came to Earth expecting our technology to determine our strength." The ambassador waited. "You were wrong." "Then what determines it?" Elias looked directly into his eyes. "People." The ambassador remained silent. Elias continued. "You thought our old rifle was a relic." "It was." "No." Elias smiled. "It was a reminder." "A reminder of what?" "That humanity has survived wars, disasters, tyranny, famine, and centuries of uncertainty." He touched the rifle's worn stock. "This thing survived with us." The ambassador looked at it again. "And the .50 BMG?" Elias gave a quiet laugh. "That was just the part you noticed." The ambassador didn't understand. Elias didn't explain. He didn't need to, because the real story of the war had never been about one bullet. It had never been about one rifle. It had never even been about one sniper. It was about an entire species refusing to believe that the future belonged only to those with the most advanced machines. The aliens had looked at Earth and seen an old planet. They had looked at human weapons and seen primitive technology. They had looked at Elias Vance and seen one ordinary soldier. And that was their greatest mistake, because humanity had never survived by being the strongest species in the galaxy. Humanity survived by adapting, by remembering, by learning, and when necessary, by standing its ground. Years later, alien historians would write about the Battle of Meridian. They would describe the human sniper. They would describe the ancient rifle. They would describe the shot that destroyed the alien communications tower. They would describe the hunter that fell in the Nevada desert. But every historical record ended with the same sentence. The humans were never the most advanced civilization we encountered. They were simply the civilization that refused to give up. Captain Elias Vance never saw that sentence. He had already retired. He lived quietly in a small mountain town far from military bases and alien diplomats. The old rifle hung above his fireplace. Dust gathered on its metal. The world moved forward. New weapons appeared. New ships crossed the stars. Humanity joined the Galactic Council. Children born after the war grew up believing aliens had always been neighbors. But sometimes, late at night, Elias would sit beside the fireplace and look at the rifle. He remembered the laughter, the first alien commander, the first shot, the hunter, the desert, and the moment the galaxy went silent. He smiled. Then he would turn off the light, because the aliens had learned the lesson. The old rifle was never the real danger. The real danger was believing humanity had nothing left to prove. And somewhere beyond the stars, every alien commander who had studied Earth knew one uncomfortable truth. If humanity ever heard laughter again, Earth still had soldiers who knew exactly what to do.